Hello, everyone. My name is Kevin Marquis. I'm the head basketball coach for the men's basketball 2 Division 2 program at Champlain St. Lawrence College. I'm headed into my second year as head coach, while the 5 years before that, I was serving as an assistant. For this interview, I'll be focusing on the 2015-2016 season, which featured a lot of first-year players who weren't always on the same page regarding the goals of the team and what their roles were. All of that stemmed from, probably a lack of communication between the coaching staff and the players, which resulted in a terrible year of basketball, not only for us coaches, but mostly for the players. We really had to look at ourselves in the mirror and be accountable for our mistakes, making sure we wouldn't repeat that the next year. That's where my coaching philosophy and how I manage my players changed a lot. I believe that the most important aspect of being a coach is being a great leader. And the most fundamental thing of being a great leader is the ability to communicate in a trustworthy manner. You only establish that when you look at each other in the eye and tell the truth. If you do that on a consistent basis, the element of trust is developed, which is the cornerstone on which every relationship or coach-athlete relationship should be built. And that becomes part of your culture. Once you have that relationship with your players, it's much easier to manage your players and to define their roles within the team because they trust you. When I recruit, I'll always look for players who have the ability to lead, who have a strong work ethic, and who are dedicated to their development, not only as players, but also as human beings. I think that the single most important thing to remember when you're dealing with a team is you're dealing with people. You're dealing with kids and adolescents most of the time. I think that this doesn't always happen because there's a lack of understanding of what it takes to make a team. Because in coaching, you get caught up in the X's and O's. And most of the clinics you go to and most of the books written that you read on basketball are on the X's and O's and different offenses, defenses, and drills. Mind you, those things are really important. But as long as the players on your team don't trust each other and don't trust you, especially, the X's and O's won't get you anywhere. We aren't coaching X's and O's, we're coaching people. So the more we learn about the people, the better it is for us, obviously. I tell my assistant coach that we can put X's on the board, but if X1 hates X2, and if X3 doesn't know how to communicate with X4, then our defense is going to stink, or it's not as good as it could be. Whereas I might not be as proficient as another coach with the X's and O's, but I'm okay with that because I believe that my team plays well together, and that'll give me a better chance to beat you. What coaches should realize is that there needs to be a balance. Right now, the scales weigh more heavily on X's and O's than the relationships with players. So much of it has to do with the people you're dealing with. The X's and O's part of it can be done when you're by yourself, and there are absolutely no confrontations. It's more of an exact science in people's minds. I, I think that's one of the better things we did going into the 2016-2017 season, which was much more of a success in our eyes. We spent a lot more time on the relationships. I think, no, I don't think. I know that the main problem with our team in 2015 was dealing with a lot of immaturity and lack of leadership. This was a team full of first year boys and only a couple of returning players from the year before that. From the start, the coaching staff, myself and my assistant, we noticed that we were going to have a tough time that year because we didn't have a leader who could step up and talk to the guys. Uh, what we failed to realize was we should have been that leader. We never communicated what we expected from each single player, which resulted in no one knowing what his role was on the team. We literally just told them, we need to win. We need to make playoffs. The losing ends today. In essence, those goals are good, but we never laid the groundwork for them to get there. So from the get-go, our communication was non-existent, and we never built that trust with the players that a team desperately needs. With no trust, no communication, there's absolutely no chemistry, no motivation, and no desire to work hard in practice. And the results were losing every game except one. Those are just horrendous norms when you're trying to rebuild a program that was once successful before. Now, while most of them were very young and somewhat immature, we needed to build our confidence, and that is something we didn't do. When it comes to confidence, I think you build confidence by them believing in us first and what we're doing. I think there has to be a balance. You have to understand that some kids have to be verbally motivated more than others, some in a very emotional way, and some patting on the back type of way. Really, as you get to know your team, you find that out. It was tough to figure this team out from the start, and it took us way too much time to get there.